collected rents, and crucially, they were the ones who rallied the fighting men when needed. And this is where Clan Morrison stands out. They had this unique blend of Norse Gaelic legal traditions mixed with the standard Highland clan setup. They were the hereditary brieves, the judges on the Isle of Lewis. Operating from Duneistein, that amazing sea-stack fortress, they basically ran their own little legal and military zone. It was quite something, especially for the time, predating a lot of modern legal structures. That dual role, chief and judge, really set them apart.
And clans showed who they were visually, too, with crests, mottos, and later on, those famous tartans, instantly recognizable symbols. For Clan Morrison, the motto is Tilak Fabe, family of Pabe. And the crest, that's the one with the arm coming out of the waves holding a dagger. Very striking.
Day-to-day life, it was all about community. Cooperation was key to survival. Farming, herding cattle, crafts, people worked together. Life could definitely be tough, no doubt about it. But that shared identity, the clan's protection, knowing people had your back, it made it bearable. It fostered this incredible collective spirit.
Okay, so we've got the basics of clan life. Now let's zoom in on Clan Morrison specifically. Their origins, that unique judicial role up in the north of Lewis, serving the Lords of the Isles.
Yeah, their structure internally was really something else, a mix of that Highland tradition and the Norse Gaelic legal culture that was so strong in the Western Isles. The key thing was the office of brieve. An inherited judgeship gave the chief actual legal powers under the old Brehon law. And Brehon law itself, that's a whole fascinating topic, a sophisticated Celtic legal system, much older than a lot of European law. It was the law of the land there for centuries.
Right, so the chief, Ansinard, was also the brieve of Lewis, well, until 1613 anyway. He had judicial power, military command, even handled diplomacy, judging cases, handing out land, leading in fights. And they had the tanist, Antanest, the elected successor, sort of the chief in waiting who helped out, ready to take over.
And then the admin roles beneath them. The brieve's function was crucial, settling disputes, collecting fines, signing off on charters, though the crown put a stop to that specific office in 1616. Taxmen, like we said, held land, raised troops, and stewards managed the practical stuff, clan resources, like collecting dues from kelp harvesting or tithes from fishing. It was quite organized for its day.
Militarily and culturally, too. The chief had his personal bodyguard, his guard, loyal warriors. And each taxman had to supply, 20-25 men? That formed the clan's main fighting force, their war bands.
And culturally, you had the Shanakis, the keepers of history and genealogy, remembering all the lineages. Bards, too, often from the O'Murgisian family line. And, of course, pipers.
Yeah.
That tune, Duneistein, is still powerful today.
The story of their leadership is quite a ride. You have the early brieves Gillamhar, Ian Dubb, and Neil McCutcheon. Then, after 1616, the chiefship kind of vanished for centuries. It wasn't properly recognized again until 1965, believe it or not. Dr. John Angus Morrison of Roochdy traced his line back and revived it.
And today, the current chief is Ruaridh Alistair Morrison, the 28th chief, carrying on that line. And thinking about their lands, Ness and Barvis in North Lewis, that wasn't just territory, it was their identity, their power base.
Right.
The court at Team Palmore was their legal center, and Duneistein. That fortress was vital for refuge, for projecting power. It really shows that constant fight for survival and identity written right onto the landscape.
Yeah, and other spots matter too. Pabe in the Sound of Harris. A branch of the clan was there, maybe linked to that motto, Tila Fabe. There's a small tower, Castile Big.
Yep.
And Roochdy House on North Uist, that's the modern seat of the chief. Clutchan Sands nearby is their traditional burial place.
And they spread out quite a bit. They got lands in Durness, up in Sutherland, came as part of a marriage dowry from a bishop, apparently. You see the Lowland Morrisons popping up, buying Bogney in Aberdeenshire, building Bogney Castle around 1660. Shows they weren't just confined to the Isles.
Right, they moved around. Sir Alexander Morrison got rates to Morrison's Haven in East Lothian near Edinburgh for exporting coal. And much later, you get the Morrisons of Margadale on Ivelay, who became Viscounts Dunrossel, acting as sort of chieftains of the South, a really wide reach eventually.
It's incredible when you think about the physical places tied to them. Duneistein, that sea stack, and imagine defending that. It was besieged multiple times.
Definitely. And so Pabbey Castle, Castile Beg, maybe 13th, maybe 15th century, tied right to the motto.
Bogney Castle, too. Even though it's a ruin now, covered in ivy, it's a solid reminder of their lowland connection. And Balnakeela House near Durness, originally a bishop place, now a restored lodge.
These aren't just ruins or old houses, are they? They're like chapters of the story, still standing. So Clan Morrison wasn't just one single group, there were distinct branches. The original Brieves of Lewis, Clan of Breetham, up in Ness and Barvis, Then the Harris-Ruchti line, the ones recognized as chiefs from 1965, based at Ruchti House now, and the Morrisons of Durness up north, connected to Clan Mackay.
And that's just the Highland side. You've got several lowland Morrison families, Bogney, Preston Grange, Barnes, Dursey, each with their own story, often involved in law or civic life down south. And finishing with the Morrisons of Margadale, the Viscounts Dunrussell, holding sway as area chieftains, it just shows how adaptable they were, pushing their influence way beyond the Hebrides.
And then there are the Sepps, these associated family names. Not always direct Morrisons, but linked through history.
Right. Linked by blood, marriage, maybe they worked for the clan or just swore allegiance. Makes you think, doesn't it? How did all these alliances actually shape how powerful the clan became?
Morrison itself comes from the Gaelic Mackilla Mór, son of the servant of Mary, but other names too. Gilmore. They come from that Gaelic root as well.
And even Smith, particularly the Smiths who were armorers in Harris. It shows this web of connections, all sorts of skills and loyalties feeding into the strength of the clan.
The story of Morrison's leaving Scotland, the diaspora, it's really powerful, often driven by hardship.
Definitely. The kelp industry collapsing after the Napoleonic Wars hit the islands hard. That, combined with the Highland clearances in the 1800s, well, many had little choice but to leave.
Yeah, they headed off everywhere. Nova Scotia, the Red River Valley in Canada, Cape Breton, Australia, New Zealand, even Jamaica.
But what's amazing is how they kept their heritage alive. In Nova Scotia, for instance, the Gaelic language survived quite strongly for a time, thanks to people like John Murdoch. And you see these incredible blends, like in New Zealand, the Rotorua Morrison Whānau, that's the Maori word for extended family. They celebrate both their Gaelic and Maori roots together.
Wow, that's fantastic. And the island driftwood picnics in Jamaica, keeping that connection going from Highland soldiers who settled there.
And today you've got active Clan Morrison societies all over the world. North America, Scotland, Australia. Connecting Morrisons everywhere, keeping that history and identity vibrant.
Let's switch gears to the symbols, the visuals. The clan crest badge is really something, isn't it? That arm coming out of the waves holding the dagger over a castle wall. It speaks of being watchful, defending, and there's that legend about the founder surviving a shipwreck, right?
Exactly. And speaking of survival in the sea, their plant badge is driftwood, Fuhil Fioda in Gaelic,
Yeah.
which is so unusual. Most clans have a flower or plant sprig. Driftwood is unique. It directly references that story of Gilmore clinging to timber after the wreck. It symbolizes endurance, their connection to the sea, a really powerful, unique badge.
And the motto? Tilak Fabe, you pronounce it.
Roughly Talak Fa Pi.
Pelak Fa Pi, family of Pabe, a clear nod to their origins on that island. You see it on their heraldry.
Then there's the battle cry. Dunaistein.
Dún Ashton.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Shouted to rally the clan, especially against the MacLeods, pointing right back to their fortress home. Now it's used at gatherings. Still connects them to that resilience, that unity from the past.
Okay, tartans. Always a popular topic. The main Morrison tartan, the official one. That's the dark green and navy blue one, with the black lines, the guards, and that strong red stripe running through.
And what's really interesting about that one, the set, the pattern itself, is based on a piece of cloth found dating back to 1747. That means it's one of the very few clan tartans we can prove existed before the Dress Act of 1746 banned Highland dress after Culloden. It's properly endorsed by the chief.
So that's the official one. Are there others?
Yes, a few. There's the Morrison Society tartan. That was designed back in 1909. It actually uses a version of the Mackay tartan pattern navy, black but with white lines. It commemorates a marriage alliance with the Mackays back in the 17th century. It's not technically the clan tartan, but the chief accepts it as a society tartan. You often see the Durness branch Morrisons wearing it. Shows those old links.
Okay, so there are official and society ones. Any others to be aware of?
Well, you see commercial ones, like a Morrison hunting, but that's unofficial. There's also a Morrison red that came from a design mistake. Some families use it. You can also get ancient or weathered versions, which just use lighter or muted colors. But one to avoid is the so-called Morrison blue. That one's been formally rejected by the clan authorities. Stick to the official green or the society one for proper connections.
Right, good to know. Now, Clan Morrison's history wasn't exactly peaceful, was it? Forged in conflict seems about right.
Oh, absolutely. Feuds were a major part of their story, shaping their survival and their authority. The big one, the really long and bitter one, was with Clan MacLeod of Lewis. Lasted, 80 years? From around 1520 to 1601. Started over who should be chief, led to terrible things, assassinations like Brieve Donald Morrison in 1543, whole villages being burned like Habost in 1554.
Wow. And it ended with the siege of Dynstein.
Yes. In 1601, a brutal siege. It pretty much wrecked both clans and really paved the way for outsiders like the Mackenzies to come in and take over Lewis later. That constant fight with the MacLeods was just relentless.
They also tangled with the Macaulays of Oog, right? Late 1500s.
They did. Mainly disputes over land for grazing cattle and inevitable cattle raids. Typical Highland stuff, really. It boiled over into the Battle of Druim nan Carnan around 1654, quite bloody, near Shader. But strangely, that seems to have been the last big clan battle on Lewis. After that, the Morrisons and Macaulays actually started working together more, resisting the mainland landlords. An interesting shift.
Then there was the conflict with the Fife adventurers and Clan Mackenzie. That sounds different, more political.
Very different. This wasn't just clan versus clan. This was 1598 to 1616, and it was basically the crown trying to break the power of the Highland clans. They sent lowland colonists, the gentlemen adventurers, backed by the Mackenzies, to take over Lewis. And it worked, eventually. The abolition of the Morrison brieveship happened during this time. It wasn't just a blow to the Morrisons. It was a clear signal from the state the old ways were ending. It fundamentally changed the Hebrides.
So fast forward to Culloden, 1746. Where did the Morrisons stand? It gets complicated, right?
It does. As hereditary judges, they'd often tried to stay neutral in wider conflicts, but by the 18th century, things were changing. You see Morrisons, especially from the Lowland and Durness branches, actually serving in the government army. There were at least 17 in the Loyalist Manchester Regiment fighting for the Duke of Cumberland at Culloden.
So not really Jacobite supporters as a clan.
There's very little evidence of organized Jacobite support from the main Lewis branch. Some might have been forced into local militias, but largely they seem to have been government-aligned or neutral by that point. Culloden really marks that transition, the end of the old clan feuding era and the beginning of Morrisons, like many Highlanders, serving in the British military. A whole new chapter.
But alongside all the fighting and legal wrangling, there's this whole other side to the Morrisons. The mystical, the supernatural, the Outer Hebrides seem full of it.
Oh, definitely. The line between this world and the next feels very thin there sometimes. And the Morrisons have their share of eerie tales. Take the shade of the brieve at Dynstein, the ghost of Donald Morrison, the last proper brieve. They say he haunts the ruins, cursed for some past injustice, rattling his iron key. Locals used to believe seeing him meant a boat was going to capsize. It makes you wonder, how do these stories help people process the dangers around them, especially the sea?
That's a really good point. They're not just ghost stories. They often carry meaning or warnings. Like the Aeron and Ruin, the Seal's Song of Rodel, such a sad, beautiful story about a Selkie, a seal woman caught by a Morrison fisherman. The tune is supposedly her lament when she finally escaped back to the sea.
And that story had real impact. Even today, some older folks in Rodel are very reluctant to harm seals. It's a living piece of folklore tied directly to that tale.
And then there's the Bean Nye of Skugursta, the washerwoman at the ford, but a coastal version.
Exactly. A death portent. Seen washing bloody clothes, wearing a sea-soaked shawl with a driftwood badge, linking her right to the Morrisons. Her appearance means someone's going to drown. There's even a recorded account from 1905, a boy claiming he saw her right before a storm took down 3 boats. Chilling stuff. It highlights how they used folklore to understand and perhaps brace for tragedy in a dangerous environment.
And it goes beyond ghosts, magical objects, strange happenings.
Right. Like the Clacna Bracium, the judge's stone in Barvis. Said to bleed if someone told a lie on it. Imagine that as a deterrent, a very physical symbol of the brieve's power and the importance of truth.
Or the warming dirk of Pabe, kept at Ruchty House now, an old dagger that supposedly gets warmed by itself before birth or death in the chief's family.
These things, the phantom piper heard at Dynstein before tragedy, the banqueting hall at Bogney Castle that couldn't be roofed because of a curse, they all weave into this rich tapestry.
Even the story of the shipwrecked founder and the driftwood badge, it's all part of this deep connection the clan felt to their land, the sea, and maybe forces beyond the everyday. So, wrapping this up, what an incredible journey through Clan Morrison's history, from judges with ancient power through feuds scattering across the globe, keeping these amazing stories alive, their resilience, their unique identity. It's really something.
It truly is. And their story, in many ways, is like a snapshot of Scottish clan history overall. Full of tradition, yeah, definitely marked by conflict, but with this enduring pride that just shines through. It really shows how understanding this kind of history helps us understand bigger themes: identity, community, how people adapt. Knowledge really is best when you can see how it applies.
Absolutely. And this deep dive, it's really just opened the door. The book, Clan Morrison, the Ancient Clans of Scotland series, has so much more detail. It's a perfect next step if we've sparked your interest. So, one last time, that fantastic book, Clan Morrison, the Ancient Clans of Scotland series, is on Amazon. The link is right there in our description. Definitely check it out if you want to keep exploring their world. And maybe leave you, our listener, with something to think about. What about your own family? Your own community? What symbols, stories, or traditions echo down the years for you, and how do they shape who you are today?
Yeah, take what you've heard today and maybe explore a little yourself. Look into your own family history, visit some historical places if you can, or just think about that power of shared identity. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.